Ni howdy, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Gong Fu Tea Cha. We've been gone a little while because I've been in China. And while I was in China, I got to try lots of exciting new teas, and I got to get really down and dirty with one of the maybe most obscure, shall we say, categories of tea, which is Hei Cha. And this is one of my favorite types of tea, and it comprises all of the fermented teas. Hei Cha means black tea, but we don't translate it as black tea. We translate it as dark tea, because if you say black tea, people think you mean Hong Cha, like Lipton or Earl Grey or chai, and the Chinese call that red tea. And so if you were to call Hei Cha black tea, then you would have to figure out another thing to call what the Chinese call red tea. And so they need to call it red tea, but then there's this plant called rooibos from South Africa that's called red tea, and it's not even tea. It's all very confusing. So I just say Hei Cha, which means, again, black tea, dark tea. What it really means is fermented tea. So a lot of people are like, oh, I've never had Hei Cha before. If you've had Shu Puer, or Shu Puer, depending on how you pronounce it, if you've had the fermented kind of puer, then you've had Hei Cha, because fermented, any kind of tea is Hei Cha, no matter whether it ferments naturally because it's just sitting around chilling and it gets dark and funky and earthy, or because it's intentionally fermented like Shu Puer, or like a lot of the teas we're gonna look at today. And so maybe you probably have had Hei Cha. If you like puer, you probably have had Hei Cha in some form or another. However, we don't usually call puer Hei Cha, even though it is technically a type of Hei Cha. It's kind of like champagne and white wine. You don't say, let's go get a bottle of white wine, and then you go get champagne. Like champagne, and white wine's white wine. Even though champagne is a type of white wine. I guess it's like the rectangle square thing. Anyways, don't worry about it too much. The point is that this is puer, and this is the type of Hei Cha that most people are familiar with. This is a 2012 autumn harvested Shu Puer from Anhua Mountain. Very nice. We're not drinking it today because we're going to skip over puer. Puer got its own 2 episodes, so we're going to let the other Hei Chas steal the show today. And so what ends up happening is that term Hei Cha is used to refer to any fermented tea not from Yunnan. And there's a bunch of them. They're from all over China. And why do people ferment tea? Usually, in general, the reason people ferment tea is so that it will preserve the tea. Fermented tea, like puer, for example, instead of getting worse over time and losing value as time goes on, they actually get better over time. And so this is a great way, this is a great technique for preserving tea and transporting it. Where are they transporting it to? Hei Chas are usually commodity teas. They're for trading, and they're being transported to other parts of the world, other parts of China, the borders of China, Central Asia, like puer, for example, on the Chama Gudao, the old tea horse road. We've talked about that. Tea from China goes to the Central Asian steppes and to the deserts and to the mountains, and it gets traded for horses because those people make really good horses, and they don't really grow vegetables. So they need to get their phytonutrients from somewhere. They raise animals, they eat meat, they eat milk, they eat barley and some other stuff that can grow there, but they don't have tons of like green vegetables. And so getting their phytonutrients and vitamins is not just a luxury, it's a matter of life or death. They get it from tea, and that tea usually comes pressed into a brick of some kind, a brick or a bing or something else like that. And this serves the purpose of, it ferments better that way, and it keeps it all together. It gives you a standardized quantity, so when you're trading horses for it, you don't have to weigh the tea, you just like count, and you're like, well, this much tea, this much mass of tea is gonna be worth a horse. Here's a horse, thank you for the tea. And also because it's easy to store for years and years. Maybe someone comes every couple years selling tea. You got to buy a bunch of it and hang on to it. And so you don't want it to be a bunch of loose leaves flopping all over the place. You want a nice solid brick, something you can really chew into. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in and chew right into this big brick of tea we call the world of Hei Cha. And we're going to start with probably the most well-known category of Hei Cha, the most well-known type of Hei Cha. Again, I said that from all over China, but the type of Hei Cha that is most commonly associated with that word Hei Cha is Anhua Hei Cha from Hunan. And I had the pleasure of going there this time. I've been to Hunan a couple times, but I'd never been to Anhua before. Thank you very much to Phoebe from Hunan Spicy Restaurant. I got the Guangxi, I got the connection from Hunan Spicy Restaurant. Shout out, if you're in Austin, go check them out. I got to go there and visit Anhua because of Phoebe, and her restaurant's fantastic. And she is from Yiyang, just outside of Anhua County, and that's where this tea is from. This is Fu Zhuan. They make many types of Hei Cha in Hunan. And the most archetypal Hei Cha from Hunan is Fu Cha, which is really funny because it's not originally from there, but we're not gonna worry about that right this second. We'll get back to that in a little bit. But the Anhua Hei Chas, there's many different types that they produce, and usually they're broken down by the different grades of tea that are being used. So the stemmier grades are used to make different types of tea, and then the leafier grades are used for certain types of tea. And so we're gonna go ahead and start with Fu Cha or Fu Zhuan, which means fungus brick or fungus tea. Fu means it kind of means like a mold type fungus growing underground. Anyway, it's not important exactly what it means. It's a little bit of a moving target, but it's got fungus. It's tea that's got fungus. Tea's got mold. It's called Eurotium cristatum, and I'm gonna crack this guy live on, well, you know, not exactly live, but recorded on YouTube. It's an unboxing. So nothing too fancy, just some paper, you know, but the Chinese invented paper, so how about that? So, here we go. So, Fu Zhuan, Fu Cha, is made with a very stemmy grade of tea, of this Hunan Hei Cha. And, ooh, yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a nice little brick there. And so I'm gonna go ahead and crack this bad boy. I'm gonna use this tea knife made by Hoab Powers of Austin, Texas. Beautiful hand-forged tea knife right there. I'm gonna go ahead and crack us off a chunk, and I wanna show you. You've seen me crack bings before, so this isn't the show. The show is in here. There we go. We're getting to it. I don't know what the zoom situation is here. We got a camera up there. This is the golden mold. Can you see it on there? This is not a very old brick, so there's not a ton of it. But this is Eurotium cristatum, the golden mold, and this is what defines this tea, Fu Zhuan. It is what it is because it has this mold. There we go. There. So you get this golden, speckly sort of situation here. I'm pointing it to it with the end of my knife. You get these little colony-forming units right there. And that's Eurotium cristatum. And this tea has to have that mold coming off of you can see it scattered all along. It's actually really gonna be probably hard to pick up with the camera, but you can see these little golden globules all over the surface of this tea. This is the best little cluster I'm gonna give you there. And if you look at it under a microscope, they look like little golden spheres. And Eurotium cristatum survives. It has a very hard little test. It has a hard little capsule, mold capsule that it surrounds its cells and protects them. And it survives the boiling hot water. Actually, they do boil this tea, where it comes from. The boiling hot water that you use to steep the tea, and survives, and it actually does populate the gut. So it is a probiotic. That's what they call that. And so they're learning all kinds of interesting things about this Eurotium cristatum, which is called Jin Hua, golden flower in Chinese, is how they refer to this. And they love it. And it's not Fu Cha if it doesn't have the Jin Hua, the golden flower, the golden mold, AKA Eurotium cristatum. So I'm just gonna stuff some in here. And this is nice. This is a wild leaf Fu Cha. Oh yeah. And so who drinks this? Well, I got to meet the Liu family, who owns the Xianglushan tea factory, which is one of the big old tea factories making Fu Cha in Hunan when they moved Fu Cha production there. And in I think the 60s or 70s. And so they opened this factory there, and they got halal certification. One of the first things they did in the 80s was get halal certification. Why do they do that? Because this tea is consumed in large part by Muslim ethnic minorities on the edges of China, China's traditional homeland. So, oh, and I just want to intro these wares. These are black sand wares from Yingjing, Sichuan. They're really good for making Hei Cha. They probably deserve their own episode, but I'm just gonna shout out to the Lin studio and these beautiful black sand wares that I brought back from Yingjing. I'm super into them, and they're really good for making this kind of tea. Really, the people who drink this tea, the Uyghur people and the Mongols and the Hui people and people who live in these often Muslim, ooh yeah, that smells nice, regions of China and the frontiers of China, they drink this tea and they boil it and they add milk or butter or some stuff like that. I'm gonna go ahead and, this is the rinse. Definitely wanna give this tea a nice solid rinse. There we go. And then they would boil it in boiling water, but the Han do steep it when the Han do drink this kind of tea. They do steep it. So we're drinking it Han style right now, Gong Fu style, we're steeping it, but this black sand pottery does hold heat exceptionally well. So it is well suited for it. And Hei Cha is great because you can just let it sit and it's steep and it doesn't really ever get bitter. Yeah. And so this is Fu Cha, aka Fu Zhuan with the golden mold. And I'm gonna go ahead and just enjoy the first steeping this, because I haven't actually tried this. As you saw, I just broke this open. I haven't tried this brick myself. This is 1 kilogram. Because it's a STEMI grade, when it's pressed, it doesn't get pressed very tightly. It's a loose press because it can't get pressed super tight because it's all STEMI. And so that lets air in so this golden mold can grow. Fun fact, this tea is really from Xi'an, is where this tea is originally from. Mao moved production of Fu Cha from Xi'an, where it would be exported out to these, because Xi'an's got tons of Muslims there, and they're much closer to the homelands of these people that would be importing this tea. But Chairman Mao, so they say in Xi'an, the deal is that Chairman Mao was from Hunan, so he moved Fu Cha production to Hunan. Hunan, Anhua was already producing lots of Hei Cha at that time before Mao moved the Fu Cha production there. So it's not like he was going out of nowhere and being like, here, you guys start making some Hei Cha. They already were making a bunch of Hei Cha. And he's like, you guys make Fu Cha too. But now, Xi Jinping is from Shanxi, and they've started making Fu Cha in Xi'an once again. And I went there too, and their Fu Cha has even more golden mold. They have a higher standard that they have to achieve to sell it as Fu Cha. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pour it right in front of me into these. And here, look at that beautiful color. It's like golden color. It's not black red like Puer. This Fu Cha, it's not super old Fu Cha. It can get like that. I have a 1991 that I got on this trip. It's amazing. But this younger Fu Cha, this is a little bit chiller. This has not been heavily fermented, although it can be. They do different levels of fermentation on these. And I get this beautiful orange honey color. And the smell, it's very interesting. It's very hard to describe. It's not really like Puer. There's a lot of other stuff going on. It's not as predominantly earthy. There's a lot more sweetness to it. There's a little bit of like an herbal quality to it, and like a vegetal quality, and something very comforting. It's really hard to describe in terms of like actual taste and smells and like foods and everything, but it has an extremely comforting kind of old house quality, like an old house that you come home to. I really like it, and I'm excited about the research that's coming about the Jin Hua, Eurotium, cristatum, the golden flower. Just this year, 2019, we're halfway through 2019, we've already had a big study come out demonstrating that the Jin Hua from this particular type of tea, from Fu Cha, colonizing the gut by altering the gut microbial flora is able to alleviate the symptoms of obesity and the progression of obesity in mice. So this tea, while pu'er will help modify your metabolism directly, this tea is also indirectly modifying your metabolism by changing your gut flora, which is something we're starting to find out is very important. So go ahead and, oh yeah, it's very nice. I feel so classy drinking out of these little stem cups. Yes, it's very clean tasting. It's got a lot of woody notes. I want to say leafy, which I think seems silly because it's leaves, but some leaves are leafier than others, and these are some leafy leaves. So that's Fu Zhuan. I'm gonna pop one more steeping into this thing here, and then I'll set it out so you can just gaze upon its beautiful color as it sits there. And this will steep like 1,000,000 times, and then you can boil it. After you steeped it a bunch of times, you can steep it some more, and then you can actually put it in a pot and boil it and get one nice last juicy steeping out of it. And I'll go ahead and give it one more here. Yes. And I'm not saying I can taste the Jin Hua, the golden flower, but Fu Zhuan has a taste that no other Hei Cha really has. And so I want to say that's a golden flower. And they ferment it and then they store it for like 15 days, and it takes 15 days to develop this golden mode. Actually, I think it was a little longer. I need to revisit my notes on that. And Anhua is really beautiful. Hunan is really beautiful in general. I like Hunan a lot. Excited to go back there. I mentioned that Hunan makes other types of Hei Cha. I'm going to go over those really quickly. I'm not going to make all of them, but we're definitely going to go over them. So we've got, I'm just going to let this steep. I'm going to make a really strong one for after the show, and then we can drink it. Yeah. All right. So what are the other Hunan Hei Cha? So Fu Zhuan is the stemmiest grade. I think it's up to 18% stems, and then I think it was 15 to 18%. Last time I was told, was called Hei Zhuan black brick, and that used to be smoked, and now no one smokes it anymore. I mean, as in they would smoke the leaves and smoke the brick. They'd smoke it twice. The Xiang Lushan Hei Cha company that makes this very fine Fu Zhuan that we're drinking, they don't do it. They don't smoke it. So I'm trying to find a Hei Zhuan source that still smokes their Hei Zhuan. It can be done. And so that's the slightly less stemmy grade. I've got one, but I didn't bring it today, but it looks very similar. It's a brick. It's just got less stem matter, and it's more densely pressed because it's not as stemmy, and therefore it does not have the golden mold. So it's a different style. And then the 15 to 12% is called, stem by mass gets called Huadren, which means flower roll. And those originally were a type of tea called Qian Liang Cha, 1,000 liang tea, and a liang is a unit of measure, kind of equivalent to an ounce, but more than an ounce, a modern ounce. And so Qian Liang Cha means 1,000-ounce tea, and they're these big pillars of tea, and they're quite heavy, and you would carry them on your back, and you'd transport them along the tea horse road. And because they're so just a straight, tall pillar, they are very easy to transport. I don't have one for you because they're like thousands of dollars to get one. Actually, if you get like a cheap one, they're hundreds of dollars, but what are you gonna do with it? You gotta cut it with a saw and take cross sections, then the cross section ends up looking like a bing, and it's just like, it's like ridiculous. If you're a like pastoral nomad and you're carrying all your stuff with you on your back, then it totally makes sense. But now they make Bai Liang Cha, 100-ounce tea, and Shi Liang Cha, ta-da, 10-ounce tea. These are also Huadren. Qian Liang Cha, the big giant pillar of tea, is a Huadren, the original Huadren, and then they have since shrunk it down for modern needs, and they go down to 100-ounce and 10-ounce, and this is the 10-ounce. This is the smallest denomination they sell. I had hilarious time today trying to learn how to open this thing. I still have no idea how to do it. I just brute forced it. You can watch the video. We'll post it. It's very humbling. Anyways, I don't know how to open this, but I'll figure it out. And anyways, I did manage to get one open earlier and broke some off and drank it, and it was very, very, very nice. Someone said it reminded them of a train, and a lot of old house notes and kind of like a spiciness to it. But this is really lovely, and this is from 2009, so I like these a whole lot. This 365 grams of tea is how much this ends up being. And then Tianjian. Tianjian is the highest grade of Anhua Hei Cha, and it comes in these little baskets. It's basket fermented tea. This one's starting to come apart, so I'll go ahead and open it up, let y'all take a look. This is from 2013. This is some very beautiful Tianjian, also from the, ooh, look at this cool basket that does this neat thing. I'm gonna go ahead and set it down and, oh yeah. Isn't that cool? Tea's so neat. Look at all the neat stuff that people do with tea. And this is the highest grade. This is 12 to 8%, or I guess less than 8% of stem mass. So this is like low stem mass, very leafy, high leafy grade, and it's aged loose. See, this is not a brick. I can just grab this. Oh no, it's a brick. It's a brick. It's not exactly loose, but it's much looser than the Fu Zhuan, which I had to break with a knife. And so you have this beautiful higher grade leafy tea that is fermented in a basket, and it's delicious. It's got cocoa-y notes. I really love Tianjian. It's probably my classic favorite Hunan Hei Cha, although I'm really, really getting into Fu Zhuan because we have a really good source for Fu Zhuan now. We didn't before. All right, and then they also do some other neat stuff, like this is Chujiang Baopian. We freaking love these at the tea house. You can pay an extra $2 and get a double serving. We call that 2-coin tea. It's shaped like a coin. I'll go ahead and show y'all what it looks like because it's pretty, it's a cool thing to behold. There we go. Isn't that neat? Yeah, Chujiang Baopian. It says it here, Chujiang Baopian. Yeah. And you take one of these and you can just stick them in your pocket. And they've been making these since like 1180. It was a long time. They've been making these for almost 1,000 years, and they stopped for like 600 years. And they just started making them again pretty recently. So these are great. These are 5 grams, and this is actually very much like pu'er. Out of all the hei chas that aren't pu'er, these are the most similar to pu'er, and these are great because you toss them in a vessel and you've got them in your pocket and you just toss them in a vessel, and anywhere you are, you can make some really dank tea out of these little coins. Chujiang Baopian. Also from Anhua, Hunan. Moving on from Anhua, let's go from Hunan to Hubei. Hunan means south of the lake. They're talking about Dongting Lake, and Hubei means north of the lake. And so they only make one hei cha in Hubei, and it's called Qing Zhuan. So we had Fu Zhuan, which means Fu brick. We had Hei Zhuan, which means black brick. We know that Hei means black because Hei Cha means black tea. So we can infer that Zhuan means brick. So Qing Zhuan means green brick. And Qing Zhuan, I love Qing Zhuan. It's one of my all-time favorite hei chas, and it's the woodiest tasting of all the hei chas. And you get all kinds of great wood notes. You get like piney notes and cedary notes and sandalwood notes, and it's all kind of bound together by this kind of like old housey vibe, but it's like very crisp and clean. And Hubei is pretty far north, and you can taste it in the tea. This is a brick of Qing Zhuan. This is 6 kilograms. This is 6,000 grams. It's surprisingly heavy. I hand it to people, and I don't let go until I'm sure that they understand how heavy it actually is, because you could easily drop it. And yep, this is, Qing Zhuan cha. And so these are pressed in a run of 20 at a time. So 20 times 6, you're looking at 120 kilos of tea being pressed at a time. And they're pressed in 2 stacks of 10 each. And most of those bricks are just flat like this. They've got this, you see this? This is in relief. It's just incised in there. This is concave. And so the bricks can sit flat on top of one another, flat on one side and with this recessed relief situation going on the other. But the top brick of each stack gets embossed with a raised relief. And one of these bricks in this particular factory gets a dragon embossed into it, and the other gets a phoenix. And those bricks are more valuable, not only because they contain a few extra grams of tea, but also because they're unique. For every run of 20, you get one dragon and one phoenix, so they're rare, and that makes them valuable. So this is a prestige piece. If you have a bunch of Hei Cha, first of all, this is from 1997 and 1998, so this brick in particular is very valuable because it's more than 20 years old. But it's a huge amount of tea. It's a big chunk of tea to acquire, and getting one with the dragon or the phoenix just shows it's a little bit of tea bling that you show that you're just like, yo, you got the one, fancy one off the batch. So this is really hard to break. You need a saw to open this. It's like knocking on a door. It's super, super dense. If you were to take one tea with you into the zombie apocalypse for the specific purpose of killing zombies with, this would be the one. Yeah, I won't go into it much more. But this one is funny. I got this kind of by accident because I met my source for this tea who lives in Chenzhou, Hunan, and his wife's grandfather had a warehouse that stored Hei Cha that was going to be shipped from Anhua to other parts of the country in Chenzhou, a different part of Hunan. And sometimes shipments would just get left there. Someone would order them, but they would never fulfill. They would never pay for the tea that they ordered. And you get these half orders of tea, these runs of Hei Cha just sitting in this warehouse, chilling, getting older and more valuable. And so he kind of inherited this from his wife's granddad. And anyways, he's got all this really nice old tea in Hunan. And even though this tea is from Hubei, he collects it. And so I met him, and then the next day I ordered a whole brick of this tea for one of my clients because I told them about it and they were so stoked about it that, and it was the next day, it was the day after I'd met him, and so he was so excited that I placed such a big order. He said, oh, tell you what, I'm gonna give you the Phoenix brick, because he'd showed me the Phoenix brick and explained to me how the dragon and the Phoenix brick work. He's like, I'm gonna give you the Phoenix brick for the price of a regular brick, even though it's supposed to be more expensive. And I was like, great, that's awesome. Now I have to buy another one because I'm not gonna sell that one to my client. I'm gonna keep that one. And so I ended up with this very valuable Phoenix brick. This is my retirement brick. By the time I'm ready to retire, it's gonna be like 70 years old and it's gonna be worth so much money and I'm gonna be rich. Anyway, until then, we can drink it in the form of these little cubes because the rest of the bricks that don't have a phoenix on them got chopped up into little cubes. And this is that same one. This is this. This is Qing Zhuan. Look at that. All right, here. It's like that. Boom. Saw it out of it. See that? Yeah. Yeah. So they used a saw to cut these guys. I guess it's like, yeah, turn this side. Yeah, there we go. They use a saw to cut these little dudes. This is a 16-gram little brick. And we're gonna steep this one because I really love this tea and we got this nice top-down view so we can really watch it as it gets giant. Because this tea, when you steep it, it's like one of those like snakes, like when you fold up the straw paper and then it turns into like a little snake and you put a drop of water on it, it goes blue, 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 blue. It's like that. And this is a good angle for y'all to see this tea, but you can see the cross section has been cut out of it. You've got these compressed stems. Those stems should be round, but they are flat because they've been squished so hard because this is the densest of all the pressed teas, is Qing Zhuan. 1997, 1998. Until they run out of this is all I'm gonna get. Okay, so I'm gonna set this to the side here. I'm gonna go ahead and get this gaiwan here ready. I love these black sand gaiwans. This is one of my favorite pieces. Is this just like pure kind of sizzle when you put. They're fired with coal, which is unusual. I've never heard of that before. It's apparently the fastest ceramic firing in the world is in Yingjing, where this clay is from, and it's in Sichuan. And they drink Hei Cha there. They're into Hei Cha. They drink the Zhang Cha, which we'll get to in a minute. There, and so they make this beautiful black sandware fired with coal, and it's just metal. It's just like the most metal teaware. It's black and it's like igneous rock, Anyway, so Qing Zhuan takes a long time to steep. I think that I'll go ahead and give it a rinse, and then we'll revisit. Actually, here. Maybe we could get it'd be cool to get like a time lapse or something on this dude, because it expands so much, this tea. I'm just gonna let it sit there for a minute. Yes, very nice, very nice. So, and we'll revisit this in a minute. It takes a long steep to wake it up. The first one is the longest one to wake it up. So that's Qing Zhuan from Hubei. We've gone from Hunan to Hubei. And again, they're gonna be making, and I just gotta do it because there's no option right now. I gotta get more hot water. And again, this would have been boiled. This is a tea that you can steep 20 times, then you can boil it. And they would have, I think the Mongolians really like to drink this tea, and they would mix this with milk. And so we've gone from Hunan to Hubei, and then we talked a little bit about Sichuan in the context of this black sandware, and I keep saying it's for Hei Cha, it's for Hei Cha. This is Zhang Cha Tibetan Tea. It's not by Tibetans, it's for Tibetans. This one is especially cute because it has been packaged in this tiny little 100-gram 250-gram bamboo wrapping. It's very elegant and sweet. The woman who makes these black sand wares, her name is Lin. She also grows tea. Yingjing is very, very clean and very beautiful. It's protected because they have pandas there. Last summer, a wild panda came down into town, which is awesome. We get raccoons sometimes where I live, but imagine a panda just rolling down into town off the mountain, just hanging out. That'd be amazing. Anyway, they got pandas there, so this place is protected. And despite the fact that they do fire a small amount of ceramics with coal, very artisan coal firing with ceramics, people are worried about the environment. Like the black sand clay production in Yingjing is not a major contributor to greenhouse gases, I feel fairly certain. But she grows this tea there because it's a very clean environment. This tea is traditionally from Mengding Mountain, which is one of the first places that tea was ever cultivated. And it's called Zhang Cha because it's grown for Tibetans. They use the older leaves of the tea plants from Mengding Mountain. And this is all in Ya'an. Mengding is in Ya'an. Yingjing is in Ya'an. And so this Ya'an area, they grow Zhang Cha, and they also make Ganlu and some green teas, but we're talking about Hei Cha today. My friend Yang Qi, who was actually one of the first tea masters I ever met, he's based on Mengding Mountain. He's been doing this his whole life. He has a tea temple, and the interior walls of the temple are made of bricks of this tea. They're usually big bricks, and often they come wrapped in yak skin because Tibetans. And the oldest tea that I've ever possessed is from 1964. Me and Steve Odell from Anthea Tea House, Rabbit's Moon Tea Arts, we went up there a couple years ago, and he had these yak skin wrapped bricks of tea from 1964, and boy, oh boy, we haggled with him for a long time to try to get him to sell it to us. We weren't trying to get like a discount on it. We just wanted the privilege of being able to pay for it, and it was not cheap, but we finally did. We got a brick of it. I got a little bit left. It's the oldest tea that I'll probably ever have, or it's the earliest tea that we'll probably ever have. And he doesn't have none for sale no more, so there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and decant this a little bit. Nice long steep. We might not do it this long in like peacetime, but yeah, see, look, it's still so clear. But it gets black. This tea gets really dark and black, and maybe by the time we're done, yep, see, it's a stubborn little brick. This guy, when we're done, is gonna be huge. There we go. Now that I've got hot water, properly hot water, I should do the trick. So that's Sichuanese Hei Cha, and I've heard tell of a couple other ones, but this is the one, and they've got Qing Zhuan Health Brick, which is extremely cheap, very like, I remember I would get these bricks of Zhang Cha and Qing Zhuan in the tea market in Chengdu, and I used them as paperweights because the ones I was getting were really low quality. They were super gnarly, you couldn't drink them. They used the older leaves, and they're meant to be boiled and churned together with yak butter. And so they don't always taste great on their own, but when they're old, I'd say 10 to 15 years is when they end up being really good. Good Zhang Cha is really fantastic. And I'm not gonna crack this guy today mostly because I have no idea how to do it, and I'm worried I'll make a fool out of myself, and like I did earlier today, trying to open that Shiliang Cha. But also I wanna wait, and I wanna try this a little later. I drank some when I was up in Yingjing, and it was delicious, so I'm excited to try some of this. But yeah, this is 2014, Zhang Cha. And then, so that's Sichuan. Yunnan, we are aware Yunnan has pu'er. We don't really need to talk about that. What else is in that region? So Gui Zhou has Hei Cha. They have a Hei Cha called Guan Cha. I'm about to get some. I had some commissioned because my friend in Gui Zhou, who was introduced to me by the lovely Ray Liu of Grass People Tree Tea in London. She's from Gui Zhou, and she introduced me to the wonderful Mr. Xiangge, and he is from Sichuan in Gui Zhou, where they make Guan Cha, which means jar jar tea, not to be confused with Jar Jar Binks, totally different, much more palatable. Is a fermented tea that is made out of a local land race of tea plants from Gui Zhou, from Sichuan, called Tai Cha, which is green in the early spring and purple in the late spring / early summer. And I'm just gonna do one more of these because I wanna see what the color looks like now. Oh, pretty, pretty, pretty. And this is the Foo Cha again. I'm just bringing it back to the Foo Cha. I kind of wanna keep drinking it while I talk. Getting a little parched. But Guan Cha is hung from the rafters of the ceiling, the rafters of the house. And so they've got these little ceramic jars, and they've got this purple tea pressed into it, and they are letting it ferment, and they let it ferment for like 20 years before they start drinking it. I guess they stagger it, they're not just sitting there twiddling their thumbs the whole time. They've got other older tea that has already been hanging out for 20 years. So that I'm excited to try. I've only tried it once. They boil it for sure. That's interesting because they grow it and they drink it. And oh man, that's so nice. It's got kind of like almost like a creaminess to it too. It's really hard to explain. So let's see how we're doing here, a little Qing Zhuan. How are we? Oh, look at that. My, how our little Qing Zhuan has grown. And let's see the color on this. Yes, getting in there, getting there. When it really gets going though, it's like deep brown. A nice little rosy, rose gold. Hit it with some more hot water. Let's look at how long this guy's getting now, huh? Let's hit it with some more hot water. This tea gets so long, it expands so much and gets so long that you actually have to end up breaking it in half, folding it in half in order to get it all in the vessel. Otherwise, it just exits the gaiwan. Yeah. Ooh, man, this black sand clay is so sexy. I'm gonna drink a little bit of this too because it's the Hei Cha episode and I'm gonna drink some Hei Cha. So, let's see, we did Sichuanese tea, we did Gui Zhou Hei Cha. There is a Hei Cha called Liuan from Huangshan, province of Anhua, and we have Taiping Hokui from there. Guapian is also from there. They've got a lot of famous green teas from there, and they have this Hei Cha called Liuan. I don't know too much about it. I'm interested to try it. So hopefully next time. I didn't make it to Anhua this time. I've been there once. I want to go back, but I'll try to find Liuan next time. But it's another basket-aged Hei Cha. And then moving on down to Guangxi. We mentioned Liu Bao in another episode. This is a very, very lovely Liu Bao from our friend Scott Wilson at Yunnan Sourcing. I used to have a Liu Bao from 2002 that I really liked, but then it was all gone. It ran out, and I haven't been able to find another one that I'm super stoked about. I will spend some more time in Guangxi next time and try to find one. In the meantime, Scott's got this really delicious Liu Bao. And Liu Bao, yet another basket-aged tea. This is a very famous tea from Guangxi. means 6 castles. And it's super dark. This is the darkest of all the Hei Chas, I'd say. I'll bust some out here. My dad, who is from Hong Kong and grew up drinking fermented teas, because that's what Cantonese people love to drink for dim sum. There you go. Some nice dark liu bao. Liu bao wow. My dad says puer is for people who can't handle liu bao, in reference to how dark it was. So saying that puer is dark and funky and has a reputation for it. Liu bao is darker. So I love liu bao. It's fundamentally a factory-produced tea, as many of these Hei Chas are, again, because they are for export. I'm gonna drink some more of this. And then I'm gonna give some to these other cups here. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. There you go. And so that's liu bao. Everyone knows liu bao. Liu bao is famous. I also really like, there's another Hei Cha from Guangxi that I'm going to kind of wrap with to illustrate the depth and complexity of this category of tea, and also of tea in China in general. And this is called Gui Cha. Gui Cha, it means grain rain tea. And I came across this many years ago while in Yangshuo in Guangxi, who I got introduced to this through our friend Zhou Zhang, and he collects this. And what is Gui Cha, and why haven't most people heard about it? So what it is, and it's unusual because Gui Cha is a Hei Cha that is produced and consumed by the same people. Remember before I was saying Hei Cha in general is tea that has been fermented for the purpose of long distance trade, commodity trade, often on the tea horse road, meaning that most times the people who make it aren't the people who drink it. They're making it and then selling it to someone else. And actually, Han Chinese people, by and large, don't like the taste of fermented teas. You do have people in Guangdong, Cantonese people, they really like it. Guangxi people also like it. And where they drink this in central Guangxi, in kind of like the Guilin sort of area, northern central Guangxi, they drink this tea. And what it is you can see how twiggy it is. It's just like a big twiggy mess. You can do like a barrel full of monkeys, with it, like this. Look at that. Oh man, yeah. This is a very low grade pluck. Like some of these are just twigs. That's just a twig right there. And so this would be considered extremely low quality tea under any other circumstances. However, the deal with this tea is that it is wild tea. It is growing out in the valleys and hills of Guangxi all by itself, and farmers will go and they just harvest it with shears and get all this big stemmy, twiggy action, and they harvest it during the Gui is the grain rain, which means it's one of the 24 calendar segments of the Chinese year. The Chinese year is divided into 24 mostly agricultural calendar segments, and so the Gui means late spring. Sometimes you'll hear about Mingqian Longjing, pre-rain Longjing. We talked about that. We had some Longjing in the green tea episode. Pre-rain Longjing, pre-Qingming Longjing, and then you also hear Yuqian, pre-rain Longjing. The Yuqian pre-rain refers to this period, the Guyu period, so before the grain rain. So this is picked in the late spring, I'm told, while it's raining. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it does something to the tea. And then they put it in grain sacks and they stick it up in the rafters of the kitchen. And in the rural Chinese households, they still light fires with, they still cook their food with fire made by burning wood, or more usually chaff from the fields, just a bunch of like little chaffy, splintered up things. And it creates a lot of smoke. They've got these open kitchens and it creates smoke, and the smoke billows up and it bathes this tea, which is up in the rafters in grain sacks. It's constantly being bathed in this smoke, and that prevents it from molding. Guangxi is an extremely moist place. The walls sweat. If you can leave a cigarette, I've seen a cigarette left on a table be covered with mold the next day. And so you have a very humid environment, very conducive to mold, and this smoking process prevents the tea from molding. They don't intentionally ferment it like they do with liubao, with the wodui process, but it does ferment very quickly because of the humidity, and it keeps from molding because of that smoke, and it also gets a smoky taste. This stuff's 26 plus years old. No one sells it. It's not something that you buy. It's something that people go, they harvest it themselves, they have generations of it going back. And they also use it to make something really unique, which is called yo cha, which is when you, it's great, it's one of my favorite things. It's a breakfast of champions. Yo cha in Guangxi is when you take this tea, this Gui cha, usually fresh Gui cha, you fry it in cai you, vegetable oil, fresh pressed vegetable oil, with ginger and green onions and peanuts and Rice Krispies and little wrapped peanuts, and you're frying the tea in oil with salt and all these other things in a wok, and then they have this special mallet that they use that has a rounded head that is the same shape as the inside of a wok. And they'll, while they're cooking this tea in this wok, I've got a great video of this, they'll smash all these ingredients together, including the tea leaves, in the oil, in the wok, while they're cooking it. And then they add water, they boil it, they strain it, they pour it into a bowl, and you eat it with a spoon. You drink it kind of like soup, and you add salt and green onions and peanuts and Rice Krispies and little wrapped peanuts to it, and you eat it with a spoon, and you've got all these chewy little glutinous rice snacky bun things all over the place, and you eat those with it. It's kind of like dim sum sort of meal. It's great, I love it. It's made out of this type of tea, Gui cha, and again, great boiled, but it can be steeped. I'm gonna go ahead and do another, ooh, now it's dark. Now the Qing Zhuan has emerged. Let's see, and I'll go ahead and, oh, look at this guy, huh? Nice long Qing Zhuan there, making some nice dark Qing Zhuan juice, AKA tea. I'm just gonna pour some of this in here. I told you, it just takes patience. All right. Oh boy, yeah. So I'm gonna make some Gui cha. We're not gonna make yo cha today, although I wish we were, that'd be so great. I really love yo cha. But we're gonna settle for just drinking some sweet, sweet Gui cha. Again, it's more than 26 years old. This stuff is not very expensive. If this was a 26-year-old pu'er, it would be somewhat more expensive because pu'er is well established and well known. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this guy over here. Boom, boom. That's our Qing Zhuan. Green brick, Fu Zhuan, Qing Zhuan, and then Gui cha is gonna go over here. There we go. Beautiful. I mean, they're fairly similar in color, you know, that fermented tea color. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use, this is my last little vessel. This is called a shoujuahu. It's kind of like a Japanese shibori dashi. It means hand-grabbed pot. And so it's not a teapot, it's not a gaiwan, it's this whole situation here where you've got this little filtery, spouty sort of thing. And these are all hand thrown. I love these little guys. They feel really nice to use. And they got a nice pour. Yes. Yes, sir. And then this Qing Zhuan is incredible, or not Qing Zhuan, this Gui cha is unbelievably uncooperative. So I'm just gonna kind of get in there. Get in there, I don't need all that. Probably should have made this in one of these giant gaiwans. This would be easier to get. Just super cash, just super chill, tea time, picking up stems and stuff. Try to use a scoop on this. I will be so impressed if you can scoop this tea with a tea scoop. I'm just gonna kinda, yeah, there we go. Let's use all of it after all, why not? It's for YouTube, you know? Gotta go all the way. And there we go. Now it's gonna fit down in there. Yeah, that's cool. Where's this? Here. Just a big old mess of Gui cha action here. And there we go. This is really nice. This is super old. This is the oldest one on the table that we're drinking right now. 26 plus years makes it older than that 21-year-old Qing Zhuan. Oh yeah. Ah, man, it's so nice. All these Hei Chas. I love Hei Cha. The smell of Hei Cha is the most nostalgic of all the tea smells. People have all kinds of wonderful memories when they smell Hei Chas. And I'm just gonna drink some of this rinse because it's just so juicy. That's nice, that's nice. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more steeping of this. Because that is just the rinse, really. It is just the rinse. I don't want to overwhelm my chop on there. Just super cash style, just popping the lid on there. I like these shoujua. This is my first time really using one of these to actually make tea. I tested the pour, but this is really fun, actually. I'm digging it. And so that's Gui Cha. And you know, it's so funny, when I first found Gui Cha, I wrote an article about it for a blog called Teaching, T-C-H-I-N-G, which is, you can find online. It's a really great publication, a lot of incredibly knowledgeable tea experts make contributions to it, and me sometimes. So just very honored to be in the company of some of these contributors. And so I wrote this article about Gui Cha and how fun it was and how cool it was they make yo cha out of it. And at the time, people were referring to this, and still do refer to this, this list of Hei Chas from around China, listed by province. And Gui Cha wasn't on the list. Why? Because it's not a tea that gets sold. You wouldn't come across it unless you were hanging out in Guangxi for long enough and kind of followed the rabbit's trail of yo cha to like, what kind of tea is in yo cha? Anyways, the point is that China is vast and mysterious, and there are things that people don't know about, haven't heard of, and people were sending me all these emails looking at this English language published Hei Cha chart of all the different Hei Chas and being like, you wrote this article about Gui Cha, so what kind of tea is it? Because on this list there's Liu Bao Cha and there's Niu Ba Cha. It's like, which one is it? It's like, well, it's not any of those. But the idea that this is something that was like unknown and hadn't been indexed already was incomprehensible to people, but that's just how China is. China has got lots of stuff yet to be discovered even by Chinese people. And lots of Chinese people weren't really familiar with Hei Cha until pretty recently. So, and there's some beautiful Gui Cha. And just some steeping tips for Hei Cha. It's so chill, it's so chill. You know, I'd say leave a little bit of liquid in the vessel, and this is what I've been told also, is that when you're steeping Hei Cha, leave a little bit of liquid in the vessel. Boom. Lucky cups. This is a nice, juicy steeping of Gui Cha. And I'll throw one more down in there to show us the color, that beautiful color. This is gonna be really nice. We've got a Hei Cha feast ahead of us. And leave a little bit of liquid in the vessel to enrich the next steeping. That's pretty much the only steeping tip that I have, and boil it. Boil it right off the bat. Boil it after you've steeped it 10 times. Boil it on a plane, on a train, in a box with a fox. Hei Cha is really chill. It's very, very good for you in ways that we're only beginning to understand. Historically, it has been a trade commodity, and so it's pressed into all kinds of fun, neat shapes. I think I showed you all of them today, all the ones that I've got. Yes, very good. Puer is one of them. Fermented puer is a type of Hei Cha. So if you've had Shu Puer, aka Shu Puer, then you've had Hei Cha. And if you like that, then you might want to explore all the other Hei Chas that China has to offer, these are just some of them. I'm sure there's ones that I've never even heard of, and I look forward to hearing about them and drinking them. And so I'm going to go ahead and decant this last one, and I will place this Gongdabe amongst its comrades to display this lovely color. Wow, that's actually really beautiful and lovely. I'm gonna go ahead and put these guys back here, and I'll pull the lids. There we go. That's pretty cool looking, right? Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of Gong Fu Tea Cha. And don't forget to smash the patriarchy and that subscribe button. And yeah, see you next time. We're gonna do white tea next time. That's gonna be really lovely. So stay tuned. Thank you.